Team 6 of 52 teams of 8 rival wisdoms. Help make America wiser and kinder with antique rival wisdom team quotes that have passed the test of time to make humanity great with words of wisdom to encourage, educate and entertain generations for centuries. Give your kids free easy extra advantage math, spelling and reading workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com. Free easy math wisdom workbooks with Octo-Repetition to grow math self-confidence. Free easy alpha Cypher coded puzzles teach letters, numbers, and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. Team quote 6.1. Be the measure great or small. Let it be honest in every part. John Bright 1811 to 1889. This is a powerful ethical principle from John Bright that calls for integrity regardless of the scale or significance of the undertaking. It's particularly meaningful coming from Bright, who is known for his work as a British reform politician and champion of working-class rights. The phrase, be the measure great or small, acknowledges that we face choices of varying importance, but then makes a decisive statement that honesty should be constant across all of them. This suggests that integrity isn't relative to the size of the task. Small dishonesty is still dishonesty. Character shows itself in both major and minor situations. There's no such thing as an unimportant ethical choice. The principle of honesty shouldn't be compromised for convenience. I find it particularly striking how he specifies, in every part, suggesting that partial honesty isn't really honesty at all. It's a call for complete integrity down to the smallest detail. Have you found this principle challenging to maintain? Being equally honest in small matters as in large ones? It seems like a demanding standard, but one that could build tremendous trust and character over time. Team quote 6.2. Prejudices are the chains forged by ignorance to keep men apart. Marguerite Gardiner 1789 to 1849. This powerful metaphor from Marguerite Gardiner brilliantly illuminates how prejudices function in society. The image of chains suggests several key insights about the nature of prejudice. Chains are human-made, forged. Just as prejudices are not natural but constructed, chains restrict movement and connection, just as prejudices limit human interaction. Chains require active effort to break, just as overcoming prejudice requires conscious work. Chains bind both the prejudiced and those they're prejudiced against, limiting both groups. The identification of ignorance as the blacksmith of these chains is particularly insightful. It suggests that prejudices stem from lack of knowledge and understanding. Education and exposure to different people can help break these chains. Fear and ignorance reinforce each other in maintaining prejudices. Knowledge and understanding are keys to liberation. I find it especially meaningful that she uses keep men apart as the purpose of these chains, emphasizing that prejudice's primary function is to prevent human connection and understanding. Have you observed how exposure to different people and cultures tends to weaken prejudices over time? Team quote 6.3. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Mark Twain 1835 to 1910. This characteristically witty observation from Twain cuts through all the complexity of achievement to focus on what's often the hardest part, simply beginning. The fact that he calls it a secret has a touch of irony, since it's such a simple truth, yet one that many people struggle to grasp or act upon. What makes this quote particularly powerful is how it shifts focus from grand planning or perfect timing to the simple act of starting. It suggests that the biggest obstacle to progress is often just inertia. Starting, even imperfectly, creates momentum. Planning can become a form of procrastination. The path forward often becomes clearer once we're in motion. Success is more about initiation than perfection. I find it interesting that Twain, known for his keen insight into human nature, identified this as the secret, suggesting he'd observed how often people get stuck in preparation planning, or waiting for the perfect moment rather than simply beginning. Have you found this to be true in your own experience? That starting is often the most challenging part of any endeavor. Team quote 6.4. There is no harm in repeating a good thing. Plato 428 BC, 348 BC. This simple yet profound observation from Plato validates something humans have intuitively known, that good things often benefit from repetition. It's interesting that despite being over 2 millennia old, this insight remains relevant to so many aspects of life. The word good here is key. Plato isn't endorsing repetition of just anything, but specifically things of value. This could apply to sharing wisdom or knowledge, practicing skills until they become mastery, reinforcing positive habits, expressing appreciation or love, retelling stories that carry important truths, repeating experiences that bring joy or growth. I find it particularly meaningful that this comes from Plato, who often wrote in dialogue form, repeatedly approaching important ideas from different angles to reveal deeper truths. He understood that repetition isn't just about exact duplication, but can be about deepening understanding or appreciation. Have you noticed how certain good things in your life actually become more valuable through repetition rather than growing stale? Team quote 6.5. Can you imagine what I would do if I could do all I can? Sun Tzu 545 BC, 496 BC. This provocative question from Sun Tzu, the ancient Chinese military strategist and philosopher, challenges us to consider the gap between our perceived and actual capabilities. It's particularly interesting coming from someone renowned for his understanding of strategy and human potential. The question operates on multiple levels. It suggests most people operate below their full capacity. It implies we often underestimate what we're truly capable of. It hints at untapped potential within all of us. It questions what limits we place on ourselves. It challenges the distinction between what we think we can do and what we actually can do. The structure of the question is clever. By asking us to imagine what we could do if we did all we can, it forces us to confront the fact that we're not currently doing all we can. It's both a challenge and an inspiration. I find it particularly meaningful that this comes from Sun Tzu, who understood that victory often depends on making full use of available resources and capabilities. Have you ever had moments where you surprised yourself by doing more than you thought possible? Team quote 6.6. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. Saint Jerome 347 AD 420 AD. This quote from Saint Jerome presents a powerful philosophy of continuous self-improvement through a memorable, almost rhythmic structure. It's fascinating that a message from the 4th century remains so relevant to modern discussions of personal development and excellence. Saint Jerome, known primarily for translating the Bible into Latin, the Vulgate, embodied this principle in his own scholarly work. He continually revised and improved his translations, demonstrating the very progression he describes, from good to better to best. The quote's 3-part progression suggests that excellence isn't a destination but a journey. It discourages complacency at any level of achievement. The phrase, "never let it rest," is particularly striking. It implies that even when we reach what we consider best, there might still be room for improvement. This mindset has influenced fields far beyond Jerome's religious context, from education and sports to business and personal development. It speaks to the human capacity for continuous growth while acknowledging that improvement happens in stages, not all at once. Team quote 6.7. Common sense is not so common. Voltaire 1694 to 1778. This wry observation from Voltaire is both a clever wordplay and a keen insight into human nature. It's particularly fitting coming from Voltaire, whose wit often served to highlight the ironies and contradictions in society. The paradox in the statement, that something common isn't actually common, reflects several truths. What we call common sense often represents accumulated wisdom rather than innate knowledge. Good judgment, despite seeming obvious in retrospect, isn't universally practiced. The term common sense might be misleading since sound reasoning isn't as widespread as we assume. Things that seem obvious to one person might not be obvious to another. There's also a subtle critique embedded in this observation, characteristic of Voltaire's satirical style. By pointing out that common sense isn't common, he's commenting on human folly and the gap between what people should reasonably know or do and what they actually do. Have you found this to be true in your experience? That what seems like obvious common sense to some isn't necessarily apparent to others? Team quote 6.8. Knowledge is of no value unless you put it into practice. Anton Chekhov, 1860 to 1904. This insightful statement from Chekhov emphasizes the crucial link between knowing and doing. As both a physician and a writer, Chekhov understood deeply how theoretical knowledge must be applied to have real impact. The phrase, of no value, is particularly striking. It's an absolute statement suggesting that knowledge by itself, without practical application, is worthless. This is a powerful claim that challenges pure academic learning without practical application, reading without implementing, understanding without action, learning without change in behavior, wisdom without works. I find it especially meaningful that this comes from Chekhov, who successfully merged different types of knowledge in his life: medical science with artistic expression, technical skill with human understanding. He demonstrated his own principle by putting his knowledge into practice in multiple fields. Have you experienced this in your own life? Moments where knowledge only became truly valuable when you found ways to apply it practically. And if you'd like to help raise school test scores and self-confidence, you can give your kids free Easy Extra Advantage math, spelling and reading workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com or buy at educationstopshate.com. Free Easy Math Wisdom Workbooks with Octo-Repetition to grow math self-confidence. You'll get plenty of repetitive practice of age ranges and averages of our 52 teams of 8 quote authors. Free Easy Alpha Cypher-coded puzzles teach letters, numbers, and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. Can you decode this Cypher quote of encouragement using either our Learning to Spell or just for fun instructions? And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. We offer printed versions and time videos with background music. Sign up for free weekly emails of 52 teams of antique rival wisdom workbooks with easy math, spelling, and reading practice. And if you'd like to get paid for sharing our wearable wisdoms, keep this in mind. Everyone I know wears a shirt, and most of us change them daily, so change your shirt and change the world. Social equalities are blatantly subliminal antique positive wisdoms repetitively shared without saying a word. This applies to all our wearable shareable wisdoms, like pretty witty baby onesies and baby tees that you and others will see and read multiple times a day. The same is true with pretty witty kids, but they'll also share these wisdoms with anyone that can read at daycare or school. Youthful truths let your kids gain confidence sharing antique wisdoms with their friends. Imagine them sharing words of wisdom with classmates and teachers. Therefore I think tees I wear is a super easy way to share words of wisdom that have passed the test of time. Our social equalities help make us all wiser and kinder with blatantly subliminal messages, promoting a more fair and equal opportunity society for all. And don't forget our giftwisdoms.com for birthdays and holidays that makes it easy to share the wisdom with clothing, coffee mugs, and magnets. So do the future a favor by encouraging, educating, and entertaining with words of wisdom that have passed the test of time to make us all wiser and kinder. With wearable wisdoms to fit babies, kids, and adults, you can clothe a whole family, city, or state. Join the 52 of 8 today at 52of8.com.